What's going on, guys? Derek here from Wilston Audio Labs. Are you guys like me and love to get the Parts Express flyer? Yeah, I got it and checked out this amp on the front. Dude, I fell in love. I'm like, check out this amplifier. I got to find out more about it. It is a hybrid tube amplifier, dual VU meters, $164. I was like, yeah, boy, let me go pick one up. So I go to the website. They are out of stock. None available until December. I was like, dude, I got to find me something. So I got on Amazon, started doing some scrolling. You know how it goes, looking at all the different models available, and also check Monoprice. So first up on Amazon, I found the Nobsound had the MS10D Mark III hybrid amplifier and the 6P1, which is a full vacuum tube amplifier. I'm like, those look pretty cool. Then I went on to Monoprice. They have a 50 watt hybrid amplifier and a 25 watt hybrid amplifier. And I was just like, those are cool too, but they only have one VU meter on them. So then I went back to Amazon and found this, the Infi model. It's the IF-AD05, $184 at the time of purchase. Looks super cool. I'm like, yep, this is the one I'm going to get. So I picked it up, and here it is. You can see by the looks, looks really cool. It's got two tubes on the top, which are covered by a mesh metal plate. It has RCA stereo inputs, has a USB input, an active subwoofer output, as well as coaxial and optical digital input. So it's like, man, this thing is loaded. It even has Bluetooth, which doesn't say here, but it has that. You can see it has removable tube cover to protect from the kiddos, has full balance mirror circuits for the amplifier board, a big transformer, all that kind of stuff, and a fan. Dude, this thing's pretty slick. So I got it in, took it out of the box. First thing I noticed, it's pretty dang big. I mean, it's really deep. And it comes with the power cord, of course. This is a US, so it's a 110. Comes with the RCA cable, kind of a generic one. Also comes with a spare tube. We'll talk about that later. And it comes with a fuse, just in case you pop the fuses. And, of course, the owner's manual. Now, there is some discrepancy here in the owner's manual about some of the ratings, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. 40 watts per channel is what it says here. 4 to 16 ohm impedance. It has 2.1 Bluetooth. It supports WAV, MP3, WMA, APE, and FLAC via USB and up to 64 gigs. We're actually going to test that later as well, so make sure you stick around to see everything. Here's the look of the amp, and again, I was not disappointed. It looks as good in person as it did in the pictures. On the front of the amp, we have a power button. We have a USB there for plugging in your thumb drive. There's two VU meters. These have the black background, but they are lighted up the same color as the tubes. You'll see that when I power it up. And on the right side, we have some controls for the USB for moving around tracks and also for selecting your source. On the top of the amp, from left to right, there's treble, volume, and then the bass control. It's very odd that they put the volume on the top and not on the front of the amplifier. I'm not really sure why they decided to do that, because I would think your source would be changed a lot less than your volume would. And also, here on the treble control, you'll notice that it looks like they put the knob on incorrectly, because the center position there is not the center position shown. I tried to pull it off and try to readjust it, but I couldn't get it to come off, so I'm not sure if it's just a potentiometer, if it's just the knob. Either way, that's just a small issue, but it was a little bit concerning that that wasn't taken care of. Again, the looks here, super slick, has a retro look with the new features. Really dig it overall. Behind this mesh screen are the two tubes which work for the preamp section. We'll show you those later in a closer look, fired up, and how they work and all that good stuff. On the back of the amplifier, you can see the different options here. We have a power connector and a fuse over on the right side, the speaker outputs, and we also have a coaxial and optical digital input, which is something most of those other amps did not have that I talked about earlier. Here on the left side, you will see RCA inputs left and right, and also two subwoofer outputs, so two different channels there for sub out. And then up higher, we have the fan, helps keep it nice and cool. And it's interesting, on the back of the amp, it says 2x30 watts here for RMS output power, whereas the manual said 2x40, so not real sure the difference there. As far as dimensions, the depth is kind of deep, 14.6 inches, the width 10.2 inches. As far as the height, 6.3 inches or 160 millimeters. Alright, so before we get started with the amp dyno test, make sure you check the video description for my new merch. And also smash me a thumbs up, greatly appreciated as always. So next up, let's try out the amplifier on the good old amp dyno, 8 ohms. It's either rated 30 watts or 35 watts by 2, not sure. Run the test tone at 1 kilohertz. Certified test takes us up to 1% THD. As you can see, it beat either rating either way. We got right around 40 watts. You can just ignore the voltage because we're using batteries here to power the dyno. That has nothing to do with the amplifier here at all, since this does use an outlet on the wall, 120 volts in the US. Uncertified test takes us up to the clipping point on the amplifier, and it's pretty much exactly the same. We got right around 40 watts per channel at 8 ohms, 1 kilohertz up to the clipping point. The final test we did at 8 ohms is the dynamic power test, which sends a pulse tone into the amplifier. It kind of checks the headroom capability of the amplifier. And you can see it does a little bit more, around 50 watts per channel, so very nice. Next up, we'll try 4 ohms. It's either rated 40 watts by 2 or 50 by 2, depending if you're looking at the manual, if you're looking at the website, or whatever. So let's try it out and see what we get. Certified test, there you go. It beat it either way. So over 50 watts per channel, certified, 1 kilohertz at 4 ohms. Very nice. Now let's run uncertified test. Takes us up to the clipping point. This usually gives us a little bit more power than the certified test. On some amps it's really close, almost identical. This one will get a little bit more power that you'd never be able to hear with your ears. 58 and 56 watts. So very good again. We always love to see an amplifier do its rated power, or just a little bit more. Hey, it always is good, right? Let's try dynamic. Send that pulse tone into the amp. Yes, this amp has some headroom capability on the Class AB section, so we like that as well. Here is the dyno sheet of all the different tests. We actually ran the amp at 1 kilohertz and 40 hertz, so you can pause this and kind of zoom in if you want to see all those results. Overall, did very well. Next up, I'm going to show you how to connect the Bluetooth. You just turn the knob, the source knob on the front, to Bluetooth, and then just get your device out. You don't have to hold down any buttons or anything on the front. Just get your device and look under Bluetooth for Infi BT. Touch that and bam, you're connected. So next up, what we're going to do is do some sound quality tests. Again, this is YouTube, so it's hard to portray sound quality, but we're going to try anyway. So listen up, check it out. Alright, so next up we hooked up the bass output of the Infi, went into the SD300 plate amplifier that I've tested before, and hooked it up to the Savard 6.5 inch subwoofer. We'll see how it does. Now we have the Savard 6.5 inch high Q subwoofer hooked up. Again, we have the ELAC UB5, UniQ UB5, these are the first gens. And we have the Infi hybrid amplifier. So let's start off with a Maser Laser, the one that I start off most of my videos with. Again, we have the subwoofer hooked up. We have the Young SD300 amplifier, plate amplifier, hooked up to the sub here, wired at 4 ohms. So let's try it out, see how it sounds. All right, this is a really bass heavy track called Back Rub. This is from the YouTube audio library. The one thing I've noticed is the amp does not have a crossover for the front speakers if you're using a subwoofer as well. So these are going to get the full range signal, which could push some of the smaller speakers into trouble, but let's see how it does. So if you use the volume control here to turn down the volume, it does not turn down the volume of the subwoofer. However, if you use the volume here, volume for your source, then it does lower everything at the same time. So that's interesting. I've seen people post that, you know, this doesn't control, which it should. This should be a variable control to the subwoofer as well. That way there's no concerns with that. But yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer. But if you're using it via Bluetooth, it won't really matter because you can kind of set this volume and the volume on your subwoofer to match, and then you're good. I got this Samsung 500 gig USB SSD. I'm gonna plug it in and see if it works. It's not supposed to, but we'll try it anyway. Oh wow. All right, first thing I noticed is the volume is a lot louder with USB than it was with Bluetooth. And unfortunately, this is another scenario where the subwoofer is at a set level. It's not adjustable. You can see how I adjust the volume down and then the subwoofer's still loud. It's all the way down. The subwoofer's still going. So that's a bummer about using any source other than Bluetooth, is you can't control the subwoofer volume. Now to gain access to the tubes, you have to take off 2 Phillips screws here that hold on this metal mesh cover. Then you have to push the cover just a little bit toward the back of the amplifier and lift straight up. This will give you access to the 2 tubes, or valves is what some people call them, depending on where you're at in the world. And again, these are the generic 12AX7 vacuum tubes that have been used for many years in preamp sections of audio equipment for, I don't know, since the 50s or 60s, a long time ago. It's very interesting that the extra that they put in the box is a 12AU7, which is a mismatched model.
I could never understand that.
Sanfei, I don't understand it either. Why wouldn't they put the same model of tube that you have? See, I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at the inside of the amplifier. You just have to take some screws off on the outside here and just kind of swing it over to the side. You can see there's a lot of ribbon cables here on the inside, a lot of wires that connect things, daughter boards to motherboards, things of that nature. Here is the audio processing board that has the controls for volume and all that good stuff, and the VU meters here on the front, and then huge transformer, and then under the transformer is the audio power amplifier. It also has the heatsink fans on either side. So yeah, it really surprised me how massive the transformer was, and 6,800 microfarad caps there. Now what I like about the amp, it measured the rated power plus, has a unique classic design. It does have subwoofer outputs, multiple inputs including digital inputs, Bluetooth, which is very nice. The dual VU meters are super slick, and the sound quality, man, this thing sounds great with the bookshelf speakers. Could be better. Does not have a remote control. The volume is an odd location on the top. The subwoofer outputs are fixed, which is a big bummer. The spare tube they send you is a mismatch. It doesn't match either one of the other two. Bluetooth volume is a little bit low, and the USB controls are kind of lacking. Doesn't tell you what song you're on or anything like that. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about an amplifier like this, these hybrid tube amplifiers. Now I'm thinking about getting a full tube Class A amplifier that uses tubes for the output section as well to try out one of those. Obviously not worried so much about the output power because they don't put out that much power, but the sound quality, see how it sounds. And yeah, I like all kind of audio equipment, so I hope you guys appreciate something outside of the car audio realm. There will be more of this in the future, especially if you guys like the video and it gets good feedback. Thanks as always for watching and supporting. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here. Here we go, slow motion. Trying to lose my phone.